Yo, how you going today? It is great to see you. You're watching Intake, a weekly series where me, you, and whoever else is watching, we get to chat about the fundamentals of Christianity and what it means to be a Christian and how we can help develop our spiritual disciplines. I'm very excited. I'm by no means a professional. I've just got, I just happen to have a mic and a camera. And so, like, you're it. Cool. First things first, I want you to know that I am talking into a mic. This thing does look like a lollipop or like one of those cake pops. I think they're in, but it's not. It's kind of like a mic with a hat on it. I saw Chris Brown have it one time and I was like, I should probably get it. And so I got it. A couple $100 later, but it's still worth it. I keep telling myself. And also, I do have a pimple on my face. You can see it. You can probably see it. It's behind my glasses. I don't really want to talk about it. It's a sensitive topic. It's also sensitive to touch. But hey, that's life. You know, you win some, you lose some, you grow some, you forget to wash your face at night. That's what happens. But I can tell you that my mustache is coming along great. Yep. Yeah, that mustache will make your dad jealous. Absolutely. This week, we are looking all things prayer. Very excited. Wouldn't call myself an expert in prayer. But I do call myself an expert in talking because I talk a lot. And so, kind of the same thing. I think first things first, we should redefine what prayer is. Prayer is, in the simplest form that I could define it in my own words, is that it is a continuous conversation with God. Prayer is the conversations, the moments where we talk to God, however it may look like. I know for myself, and a lot of times, my biggest prayers are in times where I'm scared, in times when anxiety hits, depression hits. Also, my biggest prayers, I'm starting to realize my biggest prayers is also just in my everyday. When I'm chilling, when I'm going to work, I'm just super chatty. I talk a lot. And sometimes no one else wants to talk to me except for God. Just kidding. Just kidding. So you've got to kind of find a new way to look at Christianity. If anything, look at Christianity as a relationship with God. Christianity is your relationship with God. And just like any healthy relationship, you know whether it's your parents or your friends, you understand that communication is kind of the key, the glue. The moment your parents stop talking to you, or the moment you stop talking to your parents, it kind of signalizes that something's wrong. It kind of symbolizes that there is something that needs to be done, that needs to be fixed. And most of the times when like your friends don't talk to you, you know that the first thing you tend to do is like either shut them off, throw them out, or figure out what's wrong. And a lot of the times that is the same with God. We are called as Christians, as people, to have a continuous life of prayer, a continuous conversation with God. 2 Chronicles chapter 7 puts it like this. God tells his people that if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves, seek my face, pray, turn from their wicked ways, I will heal them and I will heal their land. So pretty much prayer is something that we are called to as Christians, as people, to live a lifestyle of a constant conversation with God. And I love it because God kind of, throughout all the Bible, God kind of puts this picture that if we would just pray, if we would just pray about anything, about everything, that nothing's too big, nothing's too small, that there's nothing that he can't answer. But if we would just pray, if we would talk to God about it, if we would give it, if we would lay it at his feet, the Bible says that he would come through, he would hear their prayers. I love how the Bible kind of puts it. He kind of uses the word like humble themselves. If my people who are called by my name would humble themselves. And I think that's a really cool picture because a lot of the times what I realize, and I don't know about anybody else, but I can probably talk about my experiences. I know that for me, probably one of the hardest things is to pray about small things. I'm always thinking, like, I don't want to disturb God. I don't want to, I don't want to waste his time. He's probably looking after other people. I think I might just take this small thing by myself. And often, far too many times, I realize that is the wrong way. And the moments I do things out of my strength, the moments I try to fix things for myself, it goes haywire. But it's kind of like throughout the Bible, God's kind of shaking us and be like, telling us that if we would just pray, if we would give everything, the little things, the big things, if we would just pray about it, he would be able to move. And it's such a weird concept, or it's such a foreign concept, because in any other relationship, it's kind of a give and take. And it's kind of a, you got to do things, they got to do things to make this relationship work. But literally God throughout the whole Bible is saying that if you would just give it to me, if you would give everything to me in prayer, if you would talk to me about everything, anything, whether it's big, whether it's small, whether it's anxiety, depression, or whether it's finding, passing an exam, a pop quiz, and an assignment that's a practice that probably wouldn't even go on your grade. He calls us to pray and to give it to him. And you got to kind of ask the question, like, why would he continuously call us to prayer? That why can't we just like do things on our own, right? And I realized it because, once again, it's kind of my biggest thoughts that maybe God's too busy, so I'd probably take it on my own and I'll do this little thing, He won't have to worry about it. And I realized, because that's kind of not what Christianity is about. I think this reverse kind of relationship is the reason why Christianity is different to anything anywhere else, where everything else says, like, you've got to put in the work, you got to put in the effort, you've got to do things for yourself to get where you go. God kind of calls us to, hey, stop, give it all to me, cast everything to me, and let me show you my power, and let me do things. It is the upside down relationship that you wouldn't find anywhere else. God continuously calling us to give things to him, to chat, to talk to him constantly, without ceasing, without growing weary, without giving up. Another thing is that people always think that prayer is like this really big spiel, this really big speech that has to last like an hour and 15. Otherwise, you didn't really pray that much. But sorry, I thought that was funny. Where I grew up, I grew up in a Tongan church and watching my mum, do her thing in church, because it's how she was raised back in Tonga. And they would pray for like hours. They would go for like a long time, and they'll do this every week, and it was always the same thing. And I remember just thinking as a kid, like, man, that's got to be the most boringest thing. I probably would skip out of this as I get older. I don't want to pray. Like, it looks like a lot. They're on their knees, they're yelling, they're screaming, they're crying, and just like, it's the same routine. And that kind of pictured what prayer was to me. And so when I grew older and I needed to pray, and I decided to have this relationship, the last thing I wanted to do was pray. Because like every time I was like, pray, you gotta pray. It's like, all right, gotta get on my knees, gotta scream, gotta yell, gotta sing, gotta say a bunch of stuff, gotta cry. Hey, if I'm not crying, I'm not praying. And I realized that's not what it's about. That's not the kingdom of heaven. That's not God's heart. God's intended for us to have a continuous conversation with him. And that sometimes you will go into prayer and you'll pray and you'll forget what time it is, and the Spirit of God would lead you into such powerful, long, moment-winded prayers. But a lot of the times, prayer is just like a normal chat, a normal conversation. I find it more and more that the more I speak to him in quick moments, but in intentional and meaningful moments, it kind of builds my prayer life. Now, don't get me wrong, there are times where I seek his face, and I'm on my knees because it's kind of where the Spirit has led me to. But can I tell you about like 90% the rest of the time it's meaningful, it's short, but it's still powerful prayers. I'm talking to God on my way to work. I'm talking to God when I wake up. I'm talking to God even when I'm talking to my wife, when I'm talking to Harmony. I'm talking to God in my head, just asking me for things to say. I'm talking to God on the job when I'm hanging out with students. I'm talking to God when we plan for things for youth and stuff. I'm constantly talking to God. It's kind of like the phone line where the phone line of like me and God, like phone line. Is that what it's called? I don't know. But it's kind of like our line is always open. Like I never hang up the call with God. And I find realizing it more and more is that it's kind of what God has intended us to do, to live a continuous life of prayer. So can I encourage you today and this week, as you finish watching this, wherever, however, whoever is watching this, would you begin and would you open that line with God, and would you keep it open? Would you understand that God's looking for somebody who was called, you who was called by his name. God is looking for you to simply humble yourselves and pray. Pray about the little things, pray about the big things. Just don't stop praying. And maybe, just maybe, the more and more we keep that phone line open, the more and more we walk throughout our days with an open connection, with an open line to God, just maybe the more things change and the more God's hand moves and his Spirit moves and he heals our land. But if my people who are called to my name would humble themselves, pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, I will hear them and I will heal their land. This is Intake Week 1. I guess I'll see you next week, and the next week, and the next week, and how many ever more weeks until they kick me off and they find a new host. Don't fire me.